All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the LD11 April meeting. If we haven't met, that's unfortunate because I like to meet people. But if we haven't met, I'm Patrick Brown. I'm the chair of LD11 Democrats. This is your first meeting. Welcome. We hope that you get some good information out of our meeting. You learn more about what we do, and you come to another meeting. If this is, you've lost count how many of these things you've attended, welcome back. And of course, you know how we do things. And because you guys know how we do things, I'm going to actually depart from our normal how we start our meetings. And so let me just get into it. So it's been a rough week in Arizona. Um, we all know why it's been a rough week because we've we've all witnessed in the last, I'll say last couple of hours. I don't even say like the last couple of days, watching regression in action. Uh, if you're like I said, if you've been focused on maybe a few other things, you're not up to current events. Uh, just recently, there was a Tuesday, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled to uphold an 1864. I didn't misspeak. 1864, like Civil War, Lincoln being a president. Dudes with those mad, pork chop sideburns. They passed an 1864 law that all intents and purposes bans abortion, and it makes no accountability for anything. Now, prior to that, we did have a 15-week abortion law, which again, that's insufficient in my mind for respecting women's rights and their ability to make their own medical decisions. However, with the court upholding this law, um, we got one, we got to take a step and just recognize, kind of what's at stake in this election. We always talk about, I think it's become almost routine that this is the most important election in our lifetimes, or the fate of democracy. So sometimes we get a little hyperbolic in the political space, but I can't impress upon y'all enough that how important things are. I'm not gonna front. I'm not going to, even pretend to understand or to even use the words, that I know how, women feel, because I'm not. I'm a guy. I'm a male. This is not something, pregnancy in that perspective is not something that I can experience or, be able to understand as many of the women on this call can do that. And I'm not going to pretend to understand or be able to completely conceptualize, the absolute terror that I think a lot of women in our state are feeling right now, the hopelessness, the anger, at being told that their rights, their ability to choose, their decision making is not important. Uh, that was a regressive action. That was a discriminatory action, and frankly, just downright evil. Um, and this is why the work that we do is so important. Now, y'all are here. You guys are taking time out of your Wednesday evening. You could be watching TV. You could be doing all sorts of things other than being a part of this meeting, but you're here. And that's important because we've got some great speakers tonight who are going to talk about some information. I know we got some of our legislators who, if you aren't on Twitter or on social media or whatnot, they were holding it down, and they were not letting many Republicans who are trying to backpedal on what they did a year or so ago with the 15-week law. They're trying to say, oh well, we don't agree with the court's decision, and no, we got receipts, y'all. you know and so we are not going to let them suddenly backtrack and suddenly go, oh, that wasn't it, because again, we have receipts. So here's the thing we have to do moving forward. If you know somebody who is angry, afraid, upset, worried, they don't know what's going to happen, please take the time to make sure that person's okay. Make sure that they know they got people in this world that care, and they can trust, and say, hey, we're gonna find a way. Folks who are angry and pissed off, take that energy and we got to put it towards the work that we got to do, getting folks registered to vote, getting people to make sure that their ballots are going to come to their homes, that it's going to get filled out, that it's going to, get mailed back, that they're going to participate in this process. We got to make sure that people, if they haven't signed the abortion rights initiative, that gets the signatures. I understand they have, a lot of signatures, like 500,000 or something like that, but guess what? Let's run up the score. So let's make sure that there's no way that they can play any shenanigans or say, oh, well, we're going to throw out no, we got more than enough. But then we got to make sure people know to vote for that initiative, because we gotta win, because it's not even about like pride. It's not even about, Democrats, we gotta, be in control. It's not about power. It's about doing what's right. And the only way that we can undo all the bad that is happening is we got to be organized. We have to go out and vote, and we have to, keep pushing to make this state, the society accountable, and to take care of, folks that matter. So with that being said, I'm gonna start the meeting. I appreciate y'all kind of, allowing me to kind of, I guess, vent or, put this out there. But the thing is that the work matters. And this is real life. This isn't, fun. This isn't like, we're not play acting here. We're not, going out and just like, oh, let's go, knock on doors because it's a cool thing to do. This is not even academic. This is real life. People's lives are being impacted by the policies and the laws that get passed. And members of the Republican Party, if they haven't proved it already, they have proved without a doubt that they can no longer be trusted with the privilege to lead and to, make laws and to govern. And so now it's time to have a Democratic majority that is going to support people. They're going to take this stuff seriously. They're going to take care of the weakest among our society. All right. Thank you. Let me go ahead and bring up the PowerPoint here, and we'll get into some business. Okay. All right. So let's get into the meeting norms here. First things first, with cameras, hey, cameras on, cameras off, it's up to you. Whatever you're comfortable, whatever your bandwidth allows. I will ask that, make sure that you have that mute button going. We don't want to distract speakers, or, if you're listening to the Suns game in the background, or watching the Suns game during the meeting, just check the score on your phone or make sure it's muted. However, if you do, are recognized to speak by the chair, myself or whatnot, just, use that little raise hand function. I'll let you unmute, and then you'll get to say your stuff. If you have questions, comments, anything like that, please drop them in the chat. Our board members, as well as myself, we're all, monitoring the chat. So either we'll just answer correct right away, or, we'll, depending on what it is in the meeting, we'll just address it, or, something of that nature. If you're the type of person that likes to follow along at home with the agenda, here it is. Our secretary will go ahead and drop that link in the chat. However, if you are a dual wielding device user, got your phone handy, you can go ahead and scan that little QR code in the corner, and you'll be able to follow along. And we'll have some of the links that will be discussed in the meeting and things like that. All right, let's get into officer reports. Again, I know this is going to sound wild, but I did not actually prepare my PowerPoint, and even though I yell at the board to, get me their stuff, so I was bad. But so I'll be really quick since I kind of took some time earlier. We got some important things coming up very soon. We have, of course, the congressional delegate election that is going to be happening on April 20th. It's broken up by congressional districts. So folks who we will be voting on are, because we're in congressional district 3, that'll be happening at 10 o'clock that you have to register in advance to participate. You just have to be a PC. So if you and when I say a PC, you have to be a current PC. So I know many of you guys have turned in your paperwork, to become an elected PC. Your term doesn't go in effect until after the primary. So if you want to go, cool, you just can't vote. If you are participating, you're running for a delegate position, a congressional delegate position. Of course, this is your moment. What I'm going to do is near the end of this meeting, I'm going to dedicate some time because I see some people on the call who are candidates are running. So I'm going to give you a minute to introduce yourself, say your piece so people know who you are, and you can of course work to earn their vote. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to turn things over to our first vice chair, Dave Braun.
Good evening, everybody. I wanted to take just a brief moment to discuss the decision of the Supreme Court, because I think I've been listening to a lot of national commentators, and about 2/3 of them are really screwing up the facts and the basic information. So you should at least know what exactly happened and legally what happened. If you remember, 2 years ago, Doug Ducey was in his last term, and we were in the middle of the gubernatorial election. And the legislature and the U.S. Supreme Court already had on its docket the case that became Dobbs, the abortion case that overturned Roe versus Wade and returned everything to the individual decision of the states. So 2 years ago, the Arizona legislature, the Republican majority, passed a new anti-abortion bill that said, we set 15 weeks as the maximum number of weeks that a person can obtain an abortion in Arizona. But we also include within this law a provision that says if the U.S. Supreme Court overturns Roe versus Wade, we revert Arizona law to the 1864 law that is currently in effect. And that's basically what happened. A few months later, at the end of the term, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Dobbs, overturned Roe versus Wade. Abortion became a local state issue, and the law that had been previously at 15 weeks reverted to the 1864 law. Now, what did the Supreme Court decide yesterday? Well, as soon as that reversion occurred, of course, there was a lawsuit. And there was a lawsuit by actually the proponents of abortion saying that the 1864 law is the applicable law. Planned Parenthood argued on the opposite side, and other parties advocate on the other side that no, the 15-week law would be applicable. The Supreme Court basically froze the situation as it was, let abortion continue, and yesterday decided the 1864 law that effectively prohibits all abortion to speak of, that would be the applicable law. But anyway, it was a 2022 statute that revised and revived, if you will, the 1864 law. And when they say the Supreme Court made a decision to balance two different laws or something of that sort, and I've heard that, that isn't what happened. it was a 2022 law that reimposed the 1864 law. The best version, actually, and the most correct version that I've heard so far, has actually been from our opponent, a woman by the name of Kathy Harrod, who is the chair of the Center for Arizona Policy. They are the very right-wing legislative terrorists who are the proponents of anti-abortion legislation, and they're the main lobbying group against abortion. And if you go to channel 8 tonight at 10 o'clock, you can see her again on PBS, the local Horizon television show, which frankly is a very good source of local news. If you can't find that, or if you don't have that on your television, you can also look up PBS on YouTube, Arizona Horizon, and you should be able to find today's edition at some point, probably tomorrow. But anyway, so she has a pretty good description, and legally she's correct. So it was a decision of the legislature, basically 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago at this time, that the Supreme Court said was the applicable law. Okay, so what does that mean? It means we've got to take back our legislature, and we can do it. It means a lot of hard work. It means, very frankly, I'm particularly irritated at our local either county officials and state officials from the Democratic Party, because for the House, you know, there are 60 available seats, but we only have 58 people running, which means we're already 2 people behind. And to get a majority, we still have to get 31 out of those 58 open slots that we're contesting. And frankly, I don't know why, and this has been a continuing frustration, at least from my part, why we cannot get people running for every single one of those 60 spots. You can't win the legislature without getting 31. And 31 out of 60 is easier than 31 out of 58 candidates. So, but anyway, so that is the statute as it is now. There's some confusion as to when it goes into effect. The Supreme Court or somebody will undoubtedly clarify that. It may be 2 weeks, it may be 45 days, it's unclear, but somebody will clarify that. But it means this: on a political basis, it is way more likely that the abortion initiative, if it gets on the ballot, is going to pass overwhelmingly. It's passed in every state that has had a ballot initiative of one sort or another. It's passed in Kansas, and we are much more Democratic leaning than Kansas. And it's passed in half a dozen other places that have voted on abortion. So it's probable that we're going to win that, which will be helpful to Joe Biden. It'll be helpful to the possibility of taking over one or both houses in the legislature. It'll be helpful to Ruben Gallego in his Senate race. It'll be helpful in every Democrat up and down the ballot. But we've got to get our people, especially South Phoenix, to vote both in the primary and definitely in the general. Because if they don't vote, then we don't win. And I'll leave you at that happy point. Thank you. Back to
All
Patrick.
right. Thank you, Dave. Okay, keeping things going here. Second vice chair, Michael Butts. Hey, Michael, you're muted.
All right, good evening, everybody. Michael Butts here. On the strength of that message from our first vice, Dave Braun, we are aggressively trying to get to 60 PCs for our district. As of April 5th, about 5 days ago, we were at 41 out of 60. And our next update is going to be, I believe, coming up on this Friday, I believe. We'll have a new update. But if you are interested in becoming a PC, I've got write-in forms that we can still bring to your house, get the correct information and signature, and get those turned in so that we can get those to where they need to be at with the county. And we have to do that by the 15th. So if you need me to come by your house and get this form filled out, let me know. I'll do that. And so we can get to 60. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over and yield it back to Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Next up is our secretary.
Thank you, Chair. I do not have any comments, so I would like to move to approve the last meeting minutes.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. We have minutes now. All right. We'll do that in new business. So we'll take care of that in new business. So thank you. Let's see. Treasurer Sadia, you are up.
Okay. Oh, all right. So as of March 31st, we have $3,629.44 in our bank account. And we raised $232 and we spent $213.14. And most of the money came from ActBlue donations. And then we had a $50 refund from the city of Phoenix after we spent money for the room rental last month for the last month's meeting.
We got a deposit back.
Yeah, that still has to be. And the total expense, mostly monthly fees. The only thing unique is the city of Phoenix room rental from last month's meeting. Okay, and here's a link if you guys want to donate online. And we encourage you guys to be a recurring donor because it's getting closer to election season. So we have to elect more Democrats from different levels. And especially what's happening right now, I think it's really important to reach out to new different Democratic voters in our area, especially the new people who moved in our areas. And we rely on like small donations.
All right, thank you, Sadia. I just want to kind of add one more comment to the importance of fundraising. Probably one of the more expensive aspects of operating an LD is communications. And so while we use like social media and email stuff like that, I always consider that kind of a little bit of a walled garden, if you will, where a lot of people who are either seeking out information or are already part of the team are seeing those things. But there's a whole bunch of folks in our district who are going to need to kind of get that gentle nudge through U.S. Postal Service to know what we're about, to be prepared for this election. So definitely donating to the LD, like we're a lot of kind of our economic approach or our financial approach with the LD was trying to keep our costs as low as possible throughout the year so that we could build up a very sizable war chest for the work we need to do for this upcoming election. So if you can give $10, if you can give $20, if you can give $100, or even give $1,000, know that that money is going to go towards our goal of electing Democrats up and down the ballot, turning out the vote in LD 11, and making sure that even in a blue district such as ours, we're running up the score so that we can help make sure that we have a blue Arizona moving forward. All right, and so let me see, moving right along, our Sergeant Arms, unfortunately, is not able to join us tonight. He's traveling, but of course, he wanted me to just let y'all know that he's thinking about everybody and that he will see it at the next meeting. Okay, so let's get into my cheat sheet here. All right, so I want to do some quick elected official updates. I'm not seeing any of our state legislators on there. That's probably because they're, I'm not gonna make the joke because we're recording this. So I'll leave that alone. They're busy. I'll just say that. So, but one thing I forgot to mention from my report, as many of you guys know, Representative Marcelino Quinones resigned from office. Part of the statute with that is that when there's a legislative vacancy that takes place during the session, that LDs must submit 3 individuals who will then go to the Board of Supervisors, and from there they will choose someone to finish out that individual's or Representative Quinones's term. So we did that on Sunday, April 7th. Many of y'all was on this meeting, so thank you for taking time out of your Sunday to participate in that. We chose the following 3 individuals whose names have been were submitted to the Board of Supervisors. So much like those 3 individuals, we're all kind of just patiently waiting to see what happens next. But those individuals were Michael Butts, Janelle Cavero Harnall, and Lisa White. So hey, most of y'all probably knew this information. If you didn't know, now you do. And so again, one of those 3 individuals will be representing us in the House of Representatives. So I wish all 3 individuals the best of luck with this process, and we'll see what happens. But however it goes, I think we got 3 great individuals. And I also want to give a shout out to Onismus Stratham, who put his name out there to do this. And again, he stepped up. Like I said, we can only send 3 people, but like I said, anybody who takes the time to step up, to put themselves out there to serve the community, I want to make sure that those people get their flowers as well. So again, that's that update. Moving on to our special guest. So let's start with school board. Actually, I'm sorry, I'll take it back. Signa Oliver, elected official. Yeah, you had your camera on, so I saw you. What's going on in Phoenix Union?
So thank you, Patrick. Yes, Phoenix Union. So we do have a permanent superintendent now, Miss Thea Andrade. We're actually in contract negotiations with her right now, which should be wrapped up before the June meeting, and then we'll get her fully installed and on board. So yay, that happened. And then we have some bad news, because Phoenix Union always has to have news. And I think it went out to the whole board today, so I think I'm okay to tell this. We're losing one of our board members. One of our board members resigned this week, which has caused me great stress and anxiety. So it's a whole process with the Maricopa County Superintendent's Office. We're going to interview and send him candidates. I don't think there's going to be a special election. We're trying to get clarity on that, or whether they're just going to appoint somebody for the remainder of this person's term. And this person came on with me in 2023, so last year. And so we still have 2 years, 8 months, and 25 days, not that I'm counting, on our terms. So that's what's going on. The good news is we just instituted a program for financial literacy for our students, which will be great to teach them how to, manage their money going forward in their lives as they become adults. So that is very exciting. And that's about it for now. Good news, bad news kind of thing. So thanks, Patrick.
All right, thank you, Signa. Great updates as always. All right, so let's get into our special guest. We're going to start with school board. We have Dr. Ashley Hodge, who is currently the board clerk, Roosevelt School District. She's got some great information for us. So Dr. Hodge, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Please excuse my voice. I returned from New Orleans without a voice, but bear with me, please. Hello, my name is Dr. Ashley Hodge, affectionately known as Double Doc Hodge by my colleagues on the Roosevelt School District Governing Board, where I serve as the clerk. I'm a proud native of South Phoenix. I am a proud native of South Phoenix and a product of Phoenix Union and Roosevelt School District. It's truly a fulfillment of a childhood dream to be serving my community in this capacity. During my first term, second year, I guess it's 8 months, as board member Oliver just said, 2 years and 8 months to go. Tonight, I'm thrilled to share some exciting news about the progress we are making in Roosevelt. We're fortunate to have Dr. Danny Portillo, our first Latina superintendent, who's been leading with distinction for over a year now. She's with us this evening. I'm pleased to report that all of our schools are performing, with the district achieving its first A. Moreover, our enrollment has increased by 4% this year, and our benchmark assessments show that 75% of our kindergartners are performing at grade level, a testament to our commitment to student success. Our board has been diligently working on student outcome-focused governance, prioritizing student performance to ensure they are prepared for future challenges. We've set ambitious goals and are in the process of establishing guardrails based on the community input to guide our efforts. I warmly invite each of you to join us at the Roosevelt Community Conversation on April 30th at 5:30 p.m. at Greenfield Academy of Design and Innovation, where we'll be discussing student outcomes with the community. Dr. Portillo just put our flyer in the chat, so please leave it and save the date and join us. As we navigate budgetary challenges stemming from the decline in enrollment since 2007, we're making tough decisions while leveraging one-time COVID relief funding to support our revenue. Unfortunately, the recent announcement by State Superintendent Tom Horn regarding a 20% decrease in Title I funding poses additional hurdles. But rest assured, we remain steadfast in prioritizing our students' needs above all else. Regarding summer meals, we will be providing lunch at 5 of our campuses for individuals under the age of 18, supplemented by additional support from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program for our families. The locations will be forthcoming. In summary, our focus on student performance is yielding positive results with increasing enrollment, attendance, and academic achievement across the board. The excitement for our future is palpable. As we transition towards becoming a thriving school district, your support is invaluable, and I urge you to join us for our upcoming community conversations on April 30th. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Hodge. Great information. I know, being a longtime resident of South Phoenix, when Roosevelt's doing good, we're all doing good. So thank you. And also thank you, Dr. Portillo, for joining us tonight. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Hodge? Questions going once? All right. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. I do want to make one comment. For those of y'all who are not maybe up to speed with kind of how stuff goes with the Title I funding, this is unheard of to do this type of cut. At most, it's maybe like 10%, and then it just gets backfilled once the budget and everything gets done. What Superintendent Horn or Tom Horn or Lurch or whatever you want to call him, yeah, I said it. What he's doing is like absolutely unheard of, and it's very damaging for public education across the board. So, yes, so I just want to make sure folks understand that part. So, thank you for joining us, Dr. Hodge. All right. Next up, we've got. I'll probably say, especially considering what has taken place recently with the decision by our state Supreme Court, one of the most important, they're all important, but this is really important. One of the important races that are going to take place on our ballot is the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, because even though our Attorney General has said that, she is going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that no one gets prosecuted for seeking, abortion services, there are also 30 counties with county attorneys. And of course, Maricopa County is one of the large ones. Even though the individual currently sits in that office, has said one thing, she also, went and held it down for somebody who, is in the Supreme Court right now, who said he wasn't going to do one thing and did something else, among other things. But like I said, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to turn it over to Tamika Wooten. She is our candidate for Maricopa County Attorney.
Thank you, Patrick, for having me, and thank you, members of LD11. I'm really excited to be here. Gosh, there's so much that has happened, as you all know, but I just want to start off by saying what a difference 4 years makes, because 4 years ago, I missed making the ballot by 18 signatures. So I don't know if you all know my journey from 4 years ago, but you know, I'd like to think that I was considered the Democratic forerunner in 2020, but then I missed getting on the signature by 18 signatures. And when I got home that last day, because I turned mine in on the last day, literally I had 2 pages left. So that would have been my 18 signatures. But you know, everything happens for a reason. And I had to tell you all that on my last Facebook post when I posted. But now we're here and I made the ballot. I'm so incredibly excited and looking forward to working with members of our community. Just to give you all a little bit about me, a little bit of history. I have been blessed to practice law here in Arizona for my entire career. I've practiced law for 34 years in Arizona. I was born and raised in Southern California. My dad was a postal worker. My mother was a public public school educator. And so they stressed the importance of education. So I graduated from high school when I was 16 years old, went to UCLA, and then came to Arizona for law school. So then when I graduated from law school, I started working for the city of Tucson as a prosecutor. I worked there for about 3.5, 4 years, then came to Glendale, Arizona, which I didn't even know there was a Glendale, Arizona, being from California. But I moved to Glendale, became the prosecutor in Glendale. So that was interesting because I was the first Black female, second female in Glendale, but the first Black female in Glendale, Arizona to be a prosecutor. So during that time, I was able to prosecute and make charging decisions, which is what the county attorney does as well. But the interesting thing is during that time, when I was a prosecutor, some of the police officers in Glendale called me Shanae. And some of you all know who or what, who Shanae is. And so I was like, that is absolutely unacceptable. So then I worked with the city manager to form the diversity committee and commission. And then I trained these officers. I was like, you know what, we cannot do that because you are policing people in our community, and you cannot make those type of stereotypical connotations towards people. So we created the diversity committee and commission. And then I worked for 3 years for the city of Glendale on the civil side. So I represented the city in lawsuits where the city was sued. And then the last 5 years, I had the honor of becoming the chief city prosecutor. So during that time, I really made sure that we enforced the law and made sure that the officers who were enforcing the law followed the law. So, generally the way criminal law works is if, the defense attorney sees something that is wrong or that they believe is wrong, they file a motion to suppress because, the officer may have done something illegal. Well, when I was the city prosecutor and the chief prosecutor, I didn't wait for the defense attorney to file that motion. If it was brought to my attention, I took a look at it and we reviewed it to see if the officers did something illegal. And if they did, we suppressed the evidence. And if that evidence led to a dismissal, it did. And then we made sure that we did officer training. So like I said, I worked as the city prosecutor the chief prosecutor for 5 years. I also helped create the award-winning domestic violence offender program where we helped victims by making sure that the defendants who were charged completed the domestic violence counseling. So after about 15 years of working as a prosecutor, I then said, you know what, I want to expand my knowledge of criminal law because I actually never intended to be a prosecutor. Because again, being a Black woman, a woman of color, people would say, well, why would you want to be a prosecutor? Because, people who look like me go to jail are often prosecuted. But, and also as the county attorney, that's the most important person in the courtroom, more important even than the judge, because as a judge, the judge can only accept a plea offer. If a motion is filed, they can grant the motion to suppress, but they don't create or they don't determine who's going to be prosecuted and what charges are going to be filed. So then, like I said, I went to the criminal defense side. But before doing that, I was a pro tem judge in Superior Court. So I actually was a judge in Superior Court for probably about 6 months. And then I got a felony defense contract. During that time, I would routinely hear the prosecutors making jokes about, let's see how many years in prison we can give somebody for committing a crime. And as most of you probably know, we have the mandatory sentencing guideline. So what would happen is, the prosecutors would say, okay, they say if you don't take the plea offer, then you're going to get this many years in jail. So I had a client, and this would happen all the time, and I tell the story multiple times. So for you who have heard it, please forgive me. But I had a client who was mentally ill, and he had stolen a beer from Circle K. And since he did have a prior, under mandatory sentencing guidelines, they were like, okay, well, if you don't take this plea, you're going to get this. So the offer they gave him, since I can't see people raising hands, I like to ask how many years. They gave him 10 years in prison for stealing a beer at Circle K when he was mentally ill. So basically, it costs taxpayers $30,000 a year to put a person in prison. So we just paid as taxpayers $300,000 to put this man in prison to teach him a lesson that he won't learn because he's going to get out and do it again. I would see this every day. And so, it's like, what? We need to there are people who need to be separated from society, those who create dangerous crimes, those who create, aggravated assault, murder, things like that. They definitely need to go to prison. But we need to address the underlying cause. So people who have mental illness, let's steer them to programs that we can address the mental illness. People who are addicted to substance abuse, let's steer them to counseling and treatment so that way they don't reoffend. And that's what was happening countless times. So that was the main reason that spurred me to run for county attorney. Now, as of yesterday, let me back up too. So during that time when I was also a defense attorney, I also was a pro tem judge in several jurisdictions, probably like 5 or 6 jurisdictions all across Maricopa County. So I'd say Avondale, Surprise, Wickenburg, Mesa, El Mirage, and I think 5 or 6. Anyway, Scottsdale. So, I like to say I dispense justice all over the valley. So taking this job will give me an opportunity to continue to dispense justice all over the valley. I'm the only county attorney candidate in the history of Arizona that has the experience that I have, because I have the global experience. We have, my counterpart who is currently the county attorney, as well as the other Republican person. They're lifetime prosecutors. And so they're career prosecutors. They only have one view, but I have a global perspective of how things work. Because literally today, I was on the bench until 6:30, starting at 8. So I'm in the court every day. I'm seeing how things affect people daily. But another thing, like I mentioned, as of yesterday, one of the reasons that we need to make sure that we elect Democrats down ballot, and me as a county attorney, is I vow that I will not prosecute a woman for her healthcare decisions, nor will I prosecute the physician that does that procedure. On my counterpart or my opponent, she has shown that she makes political decisions. She's kind of danced around the issue to I'll follow the law, whatever it may be, but yet I'm sure that if the other attorney generals, county attorneys are allowed to challenge Governor Hobbs' executive order saying that the attorney general is the one that is vesting that decision whether or not to prosecute, you can best believe that my counterpart will jump in with the Republicans and then say, okay, well, in that case, I'm going to go ahead and prosecute. She's shown countless times that she will do whatever 45 says. She, being a sexual assault county attorney and prosecuting those who create or who commit sexual assault, she's supposed to be that sexual assault prosecutor. Yet, when Kavanaugh was up for his proceedings, she literally victimized the victim by putting her through the ringer on, Dr. Catherine Blasey Ford. So she's shown that, she will do what she needs to do to make sure that she gets where she needs to be. And so she victimized the victim in that case. And then, even most recently, she has then said that she will support 45 as the president. How can you, as the chief prosecutor, the top prosecutor in the county, even though we have the attorney general, most of the criminal cases come through the county attorney. So how can you, as the top prosecutor, then say that you support a man who has been found civilly liable for sexually assault? He has been indicted, not just, there's a possibility. He's been indicted on 88 felony counts, but yet you're going to say you support him. So again, that shows that whatever the prevailing wind is, you know, she's going to support 45 and that cult type mentality and do whatever she can. So, you know, if the ability to prosecute a woman and the healthcare providers is pulled back to the attorney general, she will prosecute women and their doctors. Likewise, the other person on the Republican side, she's been supported by Carrie Lake, who you all know Carrie Lake, but yet yesterday, you know, she's trying to now kind of navigate around because now that this decision came down, she's like, oh, I didn't agree with that. You know, so again, these people are showing what their true colors are. They will do whatever they need to do and say whatever they need to say to get votes. I'll let you all know that I have always made the tough decision. As I mentioned before, I've been a prosecutor. I've had to prosecute, and I've had to, you know, being a prosecutor, it's not popular to tell an officer, you know what, you messed up and I'm dismissing your charge. But I've had to do that, you know, but yet also on the other hand, as a prosecutor, I've stood there when Officer Holly was shot in the line of duty. So I've made those tough decisions, you know, being a woman, being in the criminal justice system for 34 years, I am prepared to make those tough decisions, and I will make those tough decisions. You know, everybody may not always totally agree with everything I say, but I guarantee you that every decision that I make, I will make with the end of making sure that justice is served blindly, that everybody is treated fairly and equally, that our communities are safe. And so that's what I want everybody to know. It's critically important, you know, that we vote for Democrats down the ballot and Democrats that can win, because I know that there's some people that are not necessarily happy with Joe and Kamala, but you know what? Right now we only have a binary system. We don't have a viable third party, so we got to go with what we have. Because if we don't vote, or if we vote for a third party, then 45 will become 47. So closing, I know I've said a lot, and I'm using my time, but I just want to say that again, as I mentioned, I'm the only candidate with that global perspective that knows how to balance all the perspectives. I am the only candidate who has. I can say I've made those tough decisions. I've been the person who walks in and somebody grabs their purse because they see me and they make an assumption based on my skin color. But again, like I say, I've also worked hand in hand with police officers. So I want to bring and bridge that gap between law enforcement and community and make sure that everybody in our communities are safe. So with that said, I like to say, I am the only prosecutor. I have the experience of a chief prosecutor. I have the compassion of a defense attorney and the wisdom of a judge. So I'm here. Please vote for me. I'm TamikaWooten.com. You can go online. I just started campaigning, or I just started getting funds, because I wanted to make sure that before I ask anyone for money, that I was on the ballot. I'm on the ballot. Now let's get this win together. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Judge Wooten. Do you have a moment to take a few questions?
I sure do.
Sometimes this group has a lot of questions, and sometimes they take it all in. So I know you answered the big question, you know, about prosecuting, but I'll kind of leave to the group. Does anyone have any questions for Judge Wooten?
Take a quick look.
Have anything? Okay, we've got one in the chat. It's from Lisa White. Her question is, how will you support juveniles that are facing harsh charges?
Thank you for that question, Lisa. You know, when I had my felony defense contract, I had a lot of juvenile clients who were charged with really heavy duty felonies. And, you know, what I would like to do is make sure, you know, because right now they have a tendency, anybody like dang near over 14, they're trying to charge as an adult. We're not going to do that. And they want to charge them as an adult, and then they want to give them a felony and then just jack up their life for the rest of their lives. So, you know, I would often submit deviation requests as a defense attorney saying, look, this young man made a mistake, and there's scientific proof that says that a person under, I don't even remember the exact, under 25, I think, does not have the full brain capacity to make certain decisions. So, you know, that was something that the judges, and that I would argue as mitigation to get a person a lesser sentence. So what I would do is, number one, make sure that if a person was going to be charged with as an adult, you know, but I'd still make more of an attempt to make sure that our juveniles are charged as juveniles as they are. And either way, whether they're charged as a juvenile or they're charged as an adult, let's give them programs to make sure that they have a high school education, a GED, a trade. You know, find what is appealing to them and give them those tools. And that if they complete those tools, then we, you know, depending again, if it's something that's like very violent, we cannot necessarily do that. But to give them the tools to make sure, and even if it's a violent crime, give them the tools that once they have served their sentence, they can then go out after they've served their time and support themselves and support their families rather than coming out with a felony, you know, at the age of 14, 15, 18, you know, give them the tools so that way they can hopefully have that charge dismissed if it isn't a violent crime. But even if it is, have those tools so that way when they serve their time, they serve their sentence, they can come out and be productive members of the society. Because that's one thing that I would always have people say, you know, Tamika, when I came out, I was a felon. Nobody would hire me because I had a felon. I had felony convictions. So I would at least commit a crime because I can get 2 hots in a cot, or 3 hots in a cot rather, and then I would have a place to stay. So again, for juveniles, I would make sure that we have more diversion programs so we don't have that school to prison pipeline. Let's give them the education that they need. I hope that answered your question. Let's see.
All right. Yeah, she said, thank you for believing in second chances for our juveniles.
Definitely.
All right. Judge Wooten, thank you for joining us tonight. Of course, we're rooting for you. If you could drop, links to your website or whatnot in the chat, that way, if people want to donate or learn more about you, they'll have that information. But again, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So next up is Jillian Schimmel. She is with ADLCC. If you don't know what that acronym is, we use a lot of them. That is the Arizona Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee. Got it. She's going to talk tonight about some really important skills that we're going to need in the work that we're doing when it comes to talking to people about voting and supporting our candidates, because it's easy to talk to y'all about this because we're all on the same page. But for those of y'all who knock on doors, not everybody is in the same wavelength. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn things over to Jillian, and she's going to give us some good information.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Patrick, thank you so much for inviting me to be on this call tonight. I would love to share my screen if that's okay. I've got a couple of slides.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Great. Is everyone able to see? Cool. Awesome. So hello, thank you all. Thank you so much for having me on this call. My name is Jillian. I'm one of the campaigns directors for the ADLCC, which Patrick said is one of the worst acronyms, but we are stuck with it. It's the Arizona Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, and we are the arm of the Arizona Democratic Party that focuses solely on electing Democrats to the state legislature. So our entire mission is to deliver a Democratic majority this year. You all are probably very familiar that we are only 1 seat away in each chamber from a tie and 2 seats away in each chamber from flipping. So we're extremely close. So we're going to talk tonight about some of the persuasion tactics that we use to change hearts and minds, to encourage folks to vote for the Democratic candidates on their ballot, but also to vote all the way up and down the ticket. So I will dive in. This is usually about an hour-long training, so I'm going to condense this down into a very brief presentation, and I'm happy to share around any of the information presented tonight and the slide deck to Patrick if anybody wants to take a look later on. So when we talk about persuasion, we have to think about voter-to-voter contact, face-to-face conversations. Voter-to-voter contact is one of the most effective methods that we have for having meaningful conversations, which is what persuasion conversations are. There's lots of different tactics that we have on campaigns. There are digital ads, social media posts, direct mail. All of that is very important, but having these personal conversations with voters is the best way to have persuasion conversations and to get information about the voters. So when we're talking to somebody through canvassing, when we're at their door, or whether it's a phone bank and we're having a conversation on the phone, we can ask them questions and we can track their opinions, their reactions. We can track what they are thinking and feeling in real time. And that's one of the best tools that we have to encourage voters to vote for our Democratic candidates, especially in down ballot races such as the state legislature and our county races that are incredibly important, but not every single voter does. Okay. So when we think about persuasion, this is the movable middle that we are trying to target and talk to. So the movable middle can be Democrats that are right in the center of the partisan scale, and they can be persuaded to vote for the opposing party. So we want to make sure that we're keeping an eye on our folks here and that we're using persuasion to keep people engaged in democratic politics and have conversations about our shared values and keeping people voting for our candidates that we're supporting. The movable middle also is what we more commonly think of as Republicans and independents who are maybe disenfranchised from their own party, or they're right in the middle there also. And we want to persuade them to come and vote for our Democratic candidates. So we think about the movable middle. This really works on a spectrum, and there are folks on both sides that can be persuaded. Persuasion really comes down to values. There are a ton of different issues that voters will bring up at the doors when we talk to them. There are lots of different reasons why people will vote. But when we think persuasion, we need to think values. We need to highlight some of the big picture issues that connect us all, such as like trust, empathy, respecting our community. I heard a lot of that discussed tonight. Thinking about the bigger values is the best way of getting is the best way of connecting with someone. Persuasion is not arguing. We are not trying to debate a certain topic. What we're doing is building a connection with a voter and connecting that back to the candidate or the issue that we are supporting and connecting on that shared value to get them to change their perspective or take a specific action. So here are kind of the steps to a persuasion conversation. And again, if I had an hour to go through this, I would go through each of these steps in greater detail and we would all practice these together. But the core components to having a good persuasion conversation, whether you're at the door or you're on the phone with a voter or you are having a conversation at a community event, these steps are going to be the same. We want to start by listening. If you're canvassing, you might ask a probing question. Why are you supporting Democrats? Why aren't you supporting Democrats? What is the barrier for you for supporting this candidate? Asking an open-ended question is going to allow that voter to share their opinions, share their experience with us. And then we want to listen to hear what they have to say. As they're sharing their story, no matter how rambling it is or how off topic they get, find something to connect to them on. Find some sort of a shared value or a common experience that they are talking about that you can relate to your own life or to your own story. This can be a little bit tricky because sometimes they are talking about something that is not relevant to you. It's not relevant to your candidate. And that's where we can pivot back to our values. So asking that probing question first, giving them space and time to talk, and listening to what they say is going to be our first step here. A lot of times too, people only get canvassed once or twice during the election cycle. So you have to keep in mind too, if you're going to somebody's door, especially as a persuasion target, you might be the only person in the Democratic Party structure or for that, you might be the only volunteer for that particular candidate who this person gets to interact with and gets to share their opinions with. We're all in this space having conversations about politics day in and day out, but not everybody is. So it's also important to remember people have a lot of things on their mind and they might tell you that if you knock on their door and open that conversation. So no matter where their conversation goes, acknowledge, relate to what they're saying. I like to repeat back something that they say, repeat back an issue that they're feeling or an emotion that they're sharing. If they're expressing frustration with all of the misinformation that's out there, relate on that. If they are talking about a particular topic that's important to them, it might be like education or something that's very current right now, which is our reproductive rights and this abortion decision that was handed down. If they're talking about those issues, relate to them on that or find some commonality that you can discuss. And then through all of that, identify what values they are most concerned with or which values they're most identifying with and relate that to your candidate. So again, the ADLCC, we do a ton of work supporting Democratic candidates. That's why I'm looking at this kind of through a local candidate lens. If I was canvassing on behalf of a candidate and they were talking about education, I might pivot that back to my value and say, I trust this candidate because I know that they value funding public instruction. And we're using that to relate on and then relating it back to our candidate. The last part of this is our ask. And if anyone's done sales or any type of organizing, you know the importance of a hard ask. So when we're persuading folks to take action or to vote for a particular candidate or to vote up or down ballot or to sign the reproductive rights petition that is going around, no matter what we are doing, no matter what we are persuading them for, we need to be able to measure our success by asking them a specific question. And we want to give them an opportunity to either change, say, yes, I will do this action, or no, I won't, or I'm still unsure, and we need to go back and do these steps again. So if I was canvassing on behalf of a candidate, I would ask specifically, can we count on your support in November? Can we count on your vote for this candidate? And then allowing them to say, yes, I will. No, I'm still not going to. Or, you know what, maybe, but I'm still not sure. And if there's still a maybe, I'm going to go through this again. I'm going to bring up another question. I might ask another open-ended question, or I might pry a little bit deeper into another topic and find another way to relate back to our candidate so I can go through these steps again and hopefully work to persuade that voter. But again, making sure that you're ending with that hard ask is important because we want to measure our success and we want to be able to track some sort of information or data on this conversation that we've had. Okay, so my last slide here, I've got a couple of different scenarios. And again, in a perfect world, we could all take some time and practice going through these or talk about how we would persuade these voters. But for tonight, I would love for everyone to just take a look at these and think if there was ever a situation where you encountered a voter who had a similar idea. So my first scenario here, a wishy-washy voter. This is somebody who identifies as an independent or is registered as an independent. And this is your voter that wants to say, I do all my own research and I want to read about every single candidate before I give you any answer at all. Great. That's awesome. What can we say to that person to move the needle a little bit? Or what can you say to that person at the door to convince them that your candidate is the best bet for us? So that is one scenario that is very common. The second one, on the right-hand side, Mary would like to vote for the candidate, but she's really concerned about their stance on the Middle East crisis, which is a federal issue. So again, thinking about this through a state legislative lens, there are a lot of different topics that our state legislative candidates or incumbents cannot solve because these are federal issues. So when we have a voter like that, we want to pivot them back to a local issue, something that is very relevant to the state legislature this year. So this could be a voter that is already maybe invested in the Democratic platform. Maybe they're a registered Democrat, but we want to make sure that they're voting all the way down the ticket and that they really are resonating and understanding how important it is to vote in these local elections. So I might use this opportunity to stress that importance and relate on a value or pivot back to a value that relates to the local level. So again, I am happy to share these scenarios, think through these, and use this to sort of guide the script that you might use or guide the conversations that you might use when you are out talking to voters in the community. So that is the end. Patrick, I don't know if I have any time for questions, but I'm happy to put my information in the chat if anybody wants to contact me in the future. Would love to go through this in more detail or again, some other time. And yeah, happy to answer questions if people have them.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, let's ask away. Okay. Thank you, Jillian. Great information as always. Like she said, she's going to share the slide deck with me, so I'll make that available to the folks in our newsletter, so you can take a look at these. And again, if you have like questions later or whatnot, either you can refer back to the PowerPoint or you can contact Jillian and she'll be happy to help. And if there's some interest from the LD to maybe do a more formal sit down training in person, then I'd be happy to work with ADLCC and get that on the calendar. So again, thank you very much, Jillian, for your information and for joining us tonight. Okay, everybody. So now we're going to do what I like to call the lightning round of just some updates, information, things going on around the county and state, because we have both. All right. First things. Oh, I got mixed up here. All right. First things up. Coming up, I've got to make a plug for the Black Engagement Committee. BEC is going to be meeting tomorrow online at 6:30. Like I said, you heard from Dr. Wooten. I'm sorry, from Judge Wooten, and but she'll be joining the BEC, so you can of course, if you haven't gone to BEC meeting, like I said, the BEC really, you know, kind of gets into the weeds of policy and questions and things like that. So definitely a great meeting. But joining her will also be our candidate for county sheriff, Tyler Camp. So like I said, these are going to be two major elections, two major offices that we want to have Democrats in both seats. And so if you're, you know, interested in attending the Black Engagement Committee, please do so. Other thing coming up was we have the MCDP Diamond event on the 18th. This is, of course, kind of a, you know, get your suit, the nice dress, get your fit right. Definitely formal event is taking place on the 18th. We've got a really great guest lineup. We have Simon Rosenberg. If you're not familiar with his work, he is a political analyst. He's actually one of the folks, you know, especially during the midterms, that said this whole red wave thing isn't a thing, and that, you know, Democrats will actually do very well in the midterms, and he was right. And of course, he's, you know, also using his political analytical skills to point out that, you know, the Republicans should be very worried come November. Joining Mr. Rosenberg is going to be Senator Ava Birch from Legislative District 9. If you're not familiar with Representative Birch, she recently shared, like on the floor of the legislature, some very personal experience and story regarding, you know, her decision to have an abortion. Really powerful stuff. Very, very, you know, very deep stuff. I know she's been interviewed on national news recently, and she's going to be joining to share, you know, her story, and of course, just, you know, getting people to understand why we're doing the work that we're doing. Finally will be Steve. I'm gonna mispronounce his name. Steve Belschloss. He's also another really influential analyst, political, you know, expert, is going to, of course, share some information about, you know, what we can do to make sure that we're on the right side of winning in November. So again, great event. If you can make it out, that would be fantastic. Okay, I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to share this again. Remember, we have the congressional district delegate election that's going to be happening on April 20th. For our congressional district, that will be from 10 to 1 p.m. It'll be a virtual meeting. I know, you know, like I said, folks are busy, traveling, work, things like that. But if you are a PC and you would like to vote, for folks, you can vote by proxy. An individual can carry up to one proxy. So if you, I think for this one it's one, sometimes it's three, but this one's one. So if you can't make it, you know, dial a friend, have them carry a proxy for you so that, you know, you can vote. What I'm going to do right now, since we're on this topic, is I see a few people who are joining us tonight who are running for DNC. For the DNC congressional delegate position. So what I'd like for you to do is go ahead and unmute yourself. You know, you're going to have 1 minute. You know, do what you can do in 1 minute. So let me see. I'm just going to pick on Judy Green because I see you there. And so, Judy, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. Yeah, I am Dr. Judy Green. I am running for the to be a delegate to the DNC. And I have been active in politics since moving here in 2008. I came from a blue state. Ohio at the time was blue, and I went in shock when I came here. I couldn't believe so many unopposed people were running, Republicans were running at the time. So at that point, I decided to get busy. I joined the African Americans for Obama. We phone banked every Tuesday, and I've been off and running since then. I've been a PC since 2010. I've worked on the campaigns of Dr. Harold Tempineni twice, and I was a past chairman of the BEC. I'm second vice chair of LD5, and 2 years ago I was second vice chair of LD24. I'm also the lead for voter registration at Phoenix College and South Mountain. So I'm also putting out a pitch for Republicans, for people to help out. Joyce has been helping me tremendously at South Mountain, but I need someone else to step up and help. For the last year, Joyce has been there every time I've been with South Mountain registering voters. So please consider joining me, and I will publish some dates when I need help. Thanks so much, and I appreciate your vote.
Okay, thank you, Judy. All right, if you are a candidate, just use the raise hand function. That way I know who's there and we can keep it in order. So and I'm just going by people like I recognize right now. Okay, I see Signa. All right, Signa, you got 1 minute.
All right, thank you. I am a native of this district. I was born and bred here, so I have deep roots in this community and in this district. I've always been a public servant. I have always had a heightened responsibility to serve my community and the people of Arizona, and I have had an amazing life because of everything that this community has done for me. So this would be a great honor to be able to represent CD3 at the Democratic National Convention. It would be one of the most important honors of my life. And since I've returned to Arizona in 2014, because I served in the United States Army, I've worked on campaigns to elect Democrats in the local, county, state, and federal elections. I've also registered hundreds of Arizonans to vote and circulated petitions. Currently, the AAA petition to get the initiative on the ballot for abortion access. And I also worked on the Dark Money Initiative. I'm a leader in the community. I'm mentoring young people so that they can become involved in civic engagement. And I respectfully ask for your vote on April 20th.
All right, thank you, Signa. John Jimenez, you have 1
Yeah.
minute.
Hi, everyone. My name is John Jimenez, and I hope to represent CD3 at the Democratic Convention to renominate Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. A little bit about me. I've been knocking on doors since I was in high school during 2014. 2014 election cycle when we had Fred Duvall running for governor, and a lot has changed in the past 10 years. Since then, I volunteered for numerous down-ballot Democratic candidates and progressive causes. I hope to represent you all in Chicago because our party needs to reflect not only the communities that support us, but the American people. And as a gay child of a single mother and immigrant who grew up eating, the free lunches at Arizona's public schools, I know what it means to be a target of the MAGA Republicans. I hope to talk to you all soon and that I can earn your vote on April 20th.
All right, thank you, John. Is there anyone else? I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. Okay, again, thank you guys for running. For those of y'all who are not familiar how this process works, so basically what's going to happen is you're going to be electing 4 people total. So in our CD, you'll be electing 2 men and 2 women to serve as delegates as part of, I think it's like 47 total people will be elected from the congressional side. I think it'll be 6 alternates elected as well or chosen. So again, if you are not able to make this meeting, please, have a proxy. Like I said, dial a fellow PC to be a proxy. We will drop the link to register in the chat, but also will be in this month's newsletter that goes out on Sunday. All right, we are in the home stretch, everybody. So let's see, last bit of business. Oh, that's actually it. Okay, that's all of our business. So let's do this. Public announcements, community announcements. You got 1 minute. I see Signa's hand up. What do you got for the community?
Yeah, I didn't want to take over the meeting, but Indivisible South Mountain is doing a rally next Friday, April 19th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at East Lake Park, 1549 East Jefferson. We're going to have city council members there, legislators there, and a lot of great speakers. Also, one of the things that we're doing because of this ruling by the Supreme Court, we're trying to help people understand how they can make a difference and get involved in overturning what happened on yesterday with the Supreme Court. So it's going to be a rally to get you, fired up, but also there's going to be a lot of valuable information to be shared. I'm going to put the information in the chat so that you can sign up on Mobilize, and we'd appreciate seeing you there.
All right, thank you, Signa. Any other announcements? Okay, announcements going once, announcements going twice. All right, everybody. Again, I want to thank you guys for, first of all, I want to thank everybody who was able to make it out to our nomination election on Sunday. Again, I think it's a big ask for people to, especially on a Sunday, whether you go to church, whether you don't, the thing is, a lot of people like Sundays, they're relaxed, their time. And so, taking some time out so we could do this important process. Again, I want to thank those of you who, were able to do that. And I want to thank everybody who just, got the proxies in and everything in between. Because like I said, it was a very, very quick turnaround. So thank you for doing that. And I'm also proud to say that, our election was very, run of the mill, so much so that, the news folks forgot we even did it and was like, oh, have y'all done your nominations yet? So I always say sometimes it's good when things are boring and don't make the Arizona agenda. So I'm happy about that. Second of all, again, we got a lot of work to do. We know what the stakes are. We know that, like I said, we're talking real life. We're talking people's lives. We got to get this stuff done. It is, for those of you who are sports fans or play sports, it's game time, and we need to get out there and we need to, do all the work that we can do. And again, I would say do something. If you are someone who can knock on doors and you can, you can, canvas, do it. If you're someone who is more comfortable on the phones, making phone calls, calling people, making sure they're registered to vote, make sure they know what's going on, we need you. If you are someone who, has got great handwriting, likes writing postcards, great with messaging, things of that nature, we need you. If, hey, you're willing to drive people to areas so that they can canvas, so they can hand out literature, that's your jam, we need you. If you know people, you got friends, you got you're in other organizations, you're in other things where these conversations need to take place, we need you. The thing is that it's no wrong way to be involved and being engaged in this process. What we can't do is we can't have people just sitting at home hoping that this turns out okay, hoping that folks win elections. The thing is like it takes action. Whatever that action is, whatever you're comfortable doing, we need you. With that said, thank you for attending the meeting tonight. Take care of yourself, take care of the ones you love, and we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. Michael, hands up. Sorry.
So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to, so quick shout out to Ryan Benz. He stepped up during this meeting to become a PC. So I'm going to be meeting with him Sunday to get his write-in filled out. So if there's anybody else that wants to become a PC, please let us know. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.